Guys, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about marketing with Pinterest, marketing your small business using this tool, which we think is a really awesome tool. You can see here, this is just a little glimpse of what Lowe's page looks like, and we're going to navigate through it and look at what they're doing really well a little later on in this video. So to start off, what is Pinterest? So Pinterest is a curated collection of pins, and pins are content relevant to you and or your brand. So pins are going to be pictures, videos, graphics that link back to a website or a resource that's relevant to you. So Pinterest is a tool for sharing ideas, products, and inspiration among potential customers, collaborators, and industry peers. Where some people end up being mistaken is they just use Pinterest for potential customers, but there's so many more opportunities, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. So Pinterest is an opportunity to showcase your brand's style and personality. So what a lot of people say is make your boards on Pinterest like the lifestyle magazine for your company. So for example, my company sells cakes and cupcakes and desserts. Well, on my Pinterest, I'm not just going to show cakes and cupcakes and desserts, but I'm going to think about the kinds of people who are buying these cakes and cupcakes and desserts, and I'm going to pin things that they would like to see, things like party supplies or outfits or kids' games, that kind of thing. So let's go ahead and take a look at Pinterest. So when you first open Pinterest, this is what you're going to see. This is your feed, and all of these little pictures in the white boxes are pins. And what you're seeing here is pins from people that I am following. So you'll see that, but you'll also occasionally see some pins that are sponsored, so the companies are paying for you to see them, as well as suggested pins, which are pins that Pinterest thinks you want to see. It kind of monitors what kind of pictures you're pinning and then suggests similar ones for boards you have. And the more you pin, the more accurate it gets. I've found that at first, sometimes it suggests things that don't really make sense. So all you do is just ignore them and not pin them and keep doing your thing, and eventually you'll find that it starts to get an idea of what your style is, which is pretty cool. So you can see here, we obviously follow a lot of food, a lot of weddings, some men's style, women's style, jewelry, travel, that kind of thing. So that's why you're seeing these kinds of pictures. Now, if I wanted to pin something like these printed party favor bags, what I would do is come here and I could press pin it. Now, before I did that, if you wanted to just send it as a message to one of your friends, you would press send, and you could add a message and pick somebody that you wanted to send it to. I'm just going to pick myself. So then it'll show up in over here, this little conversation, and then when I logged into my account, I would see that Sweets, Cakes, and Pastry sent you a pin, and then it gives me an opportunity to reply if I wanted to. So what we're going to do is we can like it by pressing the little heart, and they'll see there, they will be notified that we liked it, and then we could pin it. So if we wanted to, we could change the caption here. I'm just going to leave it as is, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But for this purpose, I think it's fine as it is. And then I'll add it to our craft board. So I just press pin it, and now it's on that board. So this is what your feed looks like. Now if we come up here, if you click on this, this is going to show you all your notifications. So news is telling you what other people that you're following are doing, things that they're pinning, things that they're liking, if they're adding people, that kind of thing. Under you, this is going to show you who's repinning your items, who's liking your items, and anybody who's commenting. And then messages is just what I showed you before. It will be if anybody sends you a message or sends you a pin, then this is what you'll see. So I'm just going to click on this, and this is going to take us to our page. So this is our profile page. You can see here that there's a little graphic or space for a picture, a title, your location, your website, a link to your Twitter. You can also link to your Facebook page. It links to your personal Facebook page, which is why ours isn't linked, and then a little bio. So here are all of our boards. So we like to keep what's most relevant up at the top. You can move them around as you want. So as we get closer to fall, I'll probably move, we have an autumn board up, and we'll have a holiday board, Valentine's Day, things that are more relevant to the current season. Obviously, right now it's summertime. That's what we're thinking about. It's a lot of weddings, it's a lot of flowers, it's a lot of color. So that's what we're focused on. So we can just look at this summertime board. So just like I said before, you're creating your lifestyle magazine. And in a magazine, you wouldn't just see pictures of one thing. You wouldn't just see pictures of cakes. You would see people and places and things that make sense to go with it. So this summertime board is our version of our ideal summertime. So it's bright and colorful, fireworks and balloons. But then we do have some things that are from us. So these tartlets are from our website. You can see here pinned from sweetswyoming.com, whereas all these other photos are not from us. And this is from us, this pineapple cake, and the others are not. So then if you wanted to add a pin, what you could do is go to a website directly. And then it will pull up photos for you. And you could pick if you wanted one or the other to pin it. And just like I showed you before, you could change the caption, and you could pick what board you wanted it on and say pin it. And there you can see there, saved to be mine. So that is what a board looks like. So you can move your pins around if you want, just like I showed you with the boards. Oops. So you would copy that and say we wanted to move that to, I don't know, the organic style boards. It doesn't really make sense, but just for this example, and we'd say copy, and now it would be on that board. If you wanted to edit your board, here you could change the title, you could add a description, you could say what kind of board it is. There's lots of options here. Typically ours are either holidays and events or weddings, but depending on what your industry is, you could pick all sorts of different kinds. You can change your cover photo just by scrolling through your photos and picking which one you want to use, and then save changes. And then what's really awesome is you can add collaborators. So we do this a lot when we want to partner with somebody in a business venture, or if we are wanting to send ideas among ourselves from our personal accounts, then all you would do is add an email address and say invite. So then it'll send an email with an opportunity to accept an invitation to join the board, and then I would be able to pin from that account onto this board as well. It would just show up on my feed, which is a really great tool. So we go back to our home page. You can edit your profile, and here's where you'd change your business name, your picture, your username, your bio, your location, and your website. So it's really important if you're a business to make sure that you have a business account, and you'll know that you have a business account because this little check mark right here, it says site verified, and I'll show you why that is important. Not only will it show your customers that you are verified, it is actually you, it isn't somebody else pretending to be you, but it comes with a lot of really cool tools. So over here, what we can do is come to analytics, and that's where the benefits of being a business page really come in. So all of these are here because I have a business account. If you just made a personal account, you wouldn't have these opportunities to see these numbers. So what it's showing you is your information about your audience, your profile, and information from your linked website. So it will tell you who's pinning from your website, which is something you typically wouldn't see. It's also telling you who's pinning off of your Pinterest page, how many people are clicking, how many people are liking, what your audience looks like. It'll break it down by female and male. It's a really handy tool. It shows you where people are coming from, what language they speak. So it really helps you to try and target your audience and get the right kind of content out there for them. So another thing that's great about Pinterest is they have an awesome help center and an awesome website just for Pinterest for business accounts, which I link to later on in the PowerPoint. So I would keep that in mind. Anything that I'm not covering that you might be a little confused about, I would certainly search Pinterest's help page, because they have a really great format for that. Right, awesome. So coming back, if you're searching for pins to pin, you can search by those categories that I was showing you before. So this is why it's important to put a category on the boards that you have. So say, for example, you sell, I don't know, blankets or artwork or something like that. So maybe you want to look at home decor, and you could pin pictures where somebody could use your product in styling their home. So you could just see these kinds of pictures and see what kind of pin looks like it's something that fits your ideal customer. Or maybe it's somebody you want to work with. So you interact with them, you like their pin, you say, I don't know, you leave a comment saying, I really like this. Then they can see it. And maybe it could start a relationship. A lot of times you're just building your Pinterest, but sometimes it can lead to a business. As a personal example, we have had pins on our Pinterest of photos from a styled photo shoot we did with a bunch of partners here in town. And a wedding and style blog found the pin and commented on it and said, this is so pretty, I really like this, where can I find more information, we'd love to feature it. And it ended up being featured on their blog because we responded back. So Pinterest is a way to get your work out there on a national level, or an international level even. All right, so now we can head back to the PowerPoint. So like I said before, when you're creating your account, you want to make a business account. This signals to your viewers that your account is verified, that it is you, it is your business, and it allows you to monitor traffic on your Pinterest as well as traffic from your website to other people's Pinterest accounts, which is incredibly valuable. So next, you're going to want to choose a relevant name. So by this, I mean something that makes sense. If it's your business, then name it after your business. If it's like a lifestyle blog or a service, if you're a personal trainer, then it would make more sense for it to be your name. And then also create a concise, descriptive bio that's immediately recognizable by your viewers. So sometimes people like to do quirky little bios that don't really explain who they are. In this bio, this is where you can say to people, hey, this is who I am, you found the right place, and you want it to be concise. You don't want it to be too lengthy because people just aren't going to read that. And a lot of times, if you have a bio on your other social media accounts, you can cross-utilize them throughout every platform, which is what we do, just so it looks the same no matter what. It's the same photo, the same website, the same description. It's completely consistent. So next, before you even start to pin or follow anybody or do anything, establish in your mind who your ideal customer is. Ask yourself, what would they like to see from you? What would inspire them? How do I catch their attention? So Maybe, like I said before, you're a personal trainer. So who is your ideal customer? Is it somebody who's focused on eating well, being active? Are they family oriented? Are they looking for gym clothes, new sneakers, gear, weights, that kind of thing? And then think, what kind of boards can I make that they would want to see that are relevant to my business? So like you saw on our account, our ideal customer is usually somebody who is celebrating with their friends and family. If it's a wedding or a birthday, maybe it's a holiday, maybe it's just with their loved one. That's who we want to cater to. And our market is also a pretty young, a younger clientele, so we try to keep it exciting and colorful and bright. A lot of young moms, so that's why you see a lot of kids' birthdays, kids' games, that kind of thing. So just like I told you before, to join Pinterest, you should use the business.pinterest.com. And also, if you already have an account and it isn't a business profile, you can convert it. So you can just write down this link and head there, and it's hugely helpful. It's a step-by-step guide, and it's completely worth converting. What they'll have you do is take a little piece of code and put it into your website, and that will allow them to monitor the traffic from your website. So if you're using a web hosting service like Squarespace, it's super easy on there. You can just insert it into your homepage. Or if somebody else built your website for you, it's something you could just email to them and say, hey, could you just pop this onto my website? It wouldn't be anything out of the ordinary for them to see. So next, I'm going to talk about what the ideal Pinterest is. Here in a little bit, we'll take a look at some more examples other than my own page. I don't believe that I have the ideal Pinterest. We are still working on it, but there are some businesses out there that are doing a pretty awesome job. So first of all, the ideal pin, which is that individual photo in that little box that makes up these boards. So the ideal pin, it's going to be attractive in a high quality image. You're going to hear us say this repeatedly if you haven't already. If your photo is blurry, if it's grainy, if the colors are dull, nobody's going to want to look at it. They aren't going to be excited by it. So it's important that you're using a decent camera, which you can get on your phone. Now, make sure your lens is clean and you're not putting too many filters on it. You're not covering it up in text, and you're good to go. So use keywords in a unique description, which is what I showed you, where you could change what it said underneath, that text underneath. When you use keywords in your description, when people type into the search bar what they're looking for, then it will help Pinterest find your pin and link it to that person. So if you just have an empty description of under a picture of an apple pie and somebody's looking for an apple pie, they're never going to see that picture because you didn't tag it as an apple pie. It's a super simple step that's important not to skip. So next, it links directly back to its source. And this is something I didn't show you before, but I will when we look at more accounts. And that's when you press on the picture, it goes to the website of whoever pinned it. So when, for example, on the tartlet picture I showed you on the summer board from my page, when you clicked on that picture, it would become big, and then if you clicked on it one more time, it would go to our website, sweetswyoming.com, and it would show you our portfolio of small desserts. So make sure that whatever you're pinning is going back to your website. If somebody can buy something from your website, then make sure that they know where to go and put that link in there. So lastly, it includes relevant pricing or geolocation, and I will show you this on some other boards, but what can happen is there's certain code that Pinterest recognizes. So when you type in a dollar figure in the description of your pin, it will make it bold for you. There's also a place where you can tag on a map where you're at. So if you were a hotel or maybe a restaurant, or you wanted your audience to know specifically where you are at, that would be an awesome tool to use. And if you're trying to sell something online, from an e-commerce site, then that pricing would be very important to you. So then an ideal board, which is the curated collection of pins, is carefully curated and consistent. A lot of times you see boards that are all over the place. They have everything from recipes to dresses to games to Christmas decorations. It's important to have an overall idea of what you're trying to convey and stick to that and be consistent. People will respond well to that. They'll enjoy looking at it. And when you're trying to target that perfect customer, they will recognize that and be excited by it. Next, it contains authentic pins as well as pins from others. So an authentic pin would be something that was your own, something that was your product or your service was linking back to your website, and then pins from others would be from elsewhere. So I typically like to have one authentic pin to about 10 to 15 pins from others. So your items are just kind of scattered throughout. It's not just a portfolio of your items. Next, it's made with a purpose. I kind of touched on this before. You aren't just pinning things just because they look cool. Sometimes I see stuff on Pinterest and it's something that is useful to me. Maybe it's a recipe or a quick fix for something, how to get a stain off of my hardwood floors, and I think that I really want to save that for later. Well, that's not something that I would pin to the Sweets page because it doesn't make sense unless I had a board that was full of these kind of pins. So at that point, then I send it to myself and I keep it on my own personal private board. It doesn't have to be associated with the business unless it makes sense, unless it serves a purpose. And then lastly, it's targeting an audience. Like I said earlier, you want to pick who your perfect audience is and you want to make these boards for them. You want to put your personality into it and have fun with it, but you don't want to just make the boards for you. You want to make it for your audience. And as you can see here, those two boards on the right, they are both from Sony. One is called Shot with a Sony, the best pictures and videos shot by Sony users. So that's pretty self-explanatory. It's pictures that Sony users have taken. So it's not just pictures of their cameras that they're selling. It's pictures that their customers have taken. So maybe somebody who is interested in photography would see this and be inspired to start photography. And then they would remember the name Sony. The other one, also from Sony, is called For the Moms. Some top tech presents and other gift ideas from Sony and Sony's favorite pinners for moms. So it has littered in there, which you can't really see in the picture, but it has some items that are Sony products that would be good Mother's Day presents or presents for moms. But everything else is crafts and quotes, things that moms would enjoy looking at that really have absolutely nothing to do with Sony, but what they're doing is they're targeting moms and people who are shopping for moms, and I think they do a pretty good job of that. So next, some tips and tricks for success. So first, what I think is probably most important is to stay active. Just keep pinning new content to your boards. If you're not active, people aren't going to see what you're doing. People won't be repinning. Your boards won't become full. You won't be changing seasonally. And you'll just kind of fall into the heavy crowd of users that are out there, and you won't be recognized. So stay active, keep pinning, keep updating from your own website, keep pinning new stuff that you're finding, and you'll see growth. Next, engage and cross-promote. So comment on the pins of others, share their images, approach others about working together. So where I showed you that you could comment on a pin and say, hey, this is really cool, where do I get something like this? Or hey, this is great, can I link to this in my blog? Pin their items, maybe send a link to their Pinterest board on your Facebook page if it makes sense. Start networking in this online venue, and it seems kind of silly at first to be networking with people who may be all the way across the world, but it does pay off, and you will see growth and opportunities will pop up along the way. Next, pay attention. So watch what times of day you're getting the most activity, what has the best response, and who is engaging. So There are ideal times for pinning, and there are dead zones. That's something that we'll talk about in the next video series. But what you can do at this point is just kind of watch and see. If you pin at 8 o'clock in the morning and you don't see any activity, but you pin at 8 o'clock at night and you do see activity, then maybe you should plan to do your pinning at 8 o'clock in the evening. What has the best response? Maybe people really like landscape pictures or travel photos that you're pinning, as opposed to quotes, or vice versa. Just see what people are engaging with, and what kinds of people are engaging with them, and then make boards and pin pins that make sense for them. Next, present a call to action. So how does this pin tie back to you? Can they see more on your website? Can they shop for gifts in your store? Can they eat at your restaurant on their vacation? So maybe you pin a picture of your restaurant and you say, check us out at our website and visit us next time you're in Laramie. Or maybe they can shop for a gift online and you could post a photo of a styled room with a beautiful blanket on the bed and say, find similar blankets at our website at www.whatever.com. Or maybe it's right from your website, so you should say, see more of what we do at our website here. Send people where they need to go. Don't have broken links, and make it easy for them. People want it to be so simple, so make it simple for them. Next, utilize Pinterest tools. So as I said before, they have an extensive troubleshooting guide, including tutorials and case studies, which they continually update. So they have tutorials and step-by-step guides on how to do everything from adding a widget to your website so people can see your Pinterest on your website, to adding a pin it button on your website so people could pin directly from your website, to turning your personal account into a business account, as I said before. And the case studies are also incredibly inspiring, and some of the websites that we're going to look at here in a little bit are actually from their case studies, and they're usually pretty big brands who are using Pinterest well, and they talk about how they do it and what they've done, and it's a great place to go to kind of feel excited about Pinterest and see what you can do with this tool. And lastly, have fun. This is a marketing tool where you get to show off your personality and your passions. You don't just have to pin about you. You don't just have to talk about you. You get to think about everything that encompasses your brand, everything that makes you excited about what it is you do, and you get to create this lifestyle magazine for what you do. It's an opportunity to share more about what you're passionate about. For example, I'm really passionate about sustainable food, but I don't talk about that a lot in making wedding cakes and birthday cakes. But on my Pinterest, I can pin quotes and inspiring little tidbits about this, and somebody may see that and be excited by it, and then associate my brand with this idea, which is really cool. So just have fun, get creative, and enjoy yourself. So guys, that's it on marketing with Pinterest, and this is just a getting started guide. There's so much more to it and so much more you can learn, most of which will come to you just from trial and error and practice, getting involved, having fun, and pinning. I hope that you can start your account and find what makes sense for you and your business and get out there and get involved. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to send us an email or give us a call. Our contact information will be at the end of this presentation. And stay tuned, we will be doing a second video where we'll go more in depth and talk about those analytics and the timing of pins and how to really engage with your audience. So thank you guys so much for listening. Have a good one. Bye.